Hello, happy, what day is it? Wednesday afternoon. And I'm excited to have this part two of a two-part series on the SkillBlox platform. And if you did not attend last week's, we'll do a very quick recap, but you did not necessarily miss anything that will not allow you to participate today. So what I'm first actually going to do is I'm going to just share my screen really quickly. And just so for context, give you just a sense of what SkillBlox is. So what we're looking at, and I'm going to share this link with you, is a skill block that I created that has a reading lesson in it. And our goal for today is actually for you to understand, most importantly, what quality reading resources there are in the SkillBlox platform, and then understand how you can build skill blocks that incorporate some of those reading passages for your learners, as well as adapt those that have been created by others, such as this one. Because one of the goals of skill blocks is to create a community of teachers and learners, but that allow us to share the great work that one another does. And it is an open platform that is free. And we are trying to build out our community of sharing so that as literacy volunteers or as adult education instructors or as English as a second language instructors, we're not only designing things for our learners, but also designing in such a way that others can use. So if you were able to click on the link that I just shared in the chat, you should be seeing exactly what I see, and that is a skill block. This skill block has a vocabulary activity set that uses a tool called Quizlet. It has a story in it, and the story is looking for a job. And then it has a comprehension quiz in it. And if I just really quickly click on all of these, you will see here is an interactive vocabulary platform Quizlet that maybe it will load. And this allows learners to practice vocabulary. And this is very mobile friendly. It's a ed tech tool that's quite mobile friendly. Here's the story that those vocabulary tools or vocabulary words come from. And so here is a basic level story that we're going to explore a little bit more in depth, this particular reading resource, because there's 345 stories from this resource that are for adults and that are at early literacy levels that include fluency practice and recordings, as well as other activities that we'll explore today. And then there's a comprehension quiz. And this is a Google form that, again, is very mobile friendly, that students could answer questions and then get immediate feedback. And what you'll actually see is if you have a SkillBlock account, you can actually make a copy of this quiz. And then you can administer this to your learners and actually see their results, as opposed to them just using this generic form. So all of that's going to be part of what we do, is just how to build something like this with the reading resources that are in SkillBlox, or even reading resources that you're aware of, as well as learning how to share these things with others. But before that, we obviously need to create accounts. If you want to follow along today, I want to give time for folks to create a SkillBlock account. And so I'm going to share these instructions in the chat. So maybe you don't want to do this right now, but you do want to do this after today. Here is a link to detailed instructions on how to create a SkillBlock account. I am going to actually share my screen now, and these are the steps for actually creating an account online now. So I'm going to give about 3 minutes for folks to do this, just in case you want to actually follow along as we are going through. This webinar is being recorded and the slides will be shared. So you'll have everything that we've walked through today. But if you want to play along, which I encourage you to do so, please go ahead and create an account right now. The direct link is on screen right now as well. This link that I'm sharing is to get to that registration page. You will want to create an instructor account. Do the first prompt, and As you're doing so, please do feel free to unmute if you have a question, or use the chat. We're a small enough group that I think we can feel free to unmute. And yes, Bev just put a comment in here. I was about to say this once we've given you some time to fill out this initial form that's on the page, but you'll note that when you do submit, it's going to say that a verification code has been emailed to the email address that you signed up with. So you do need to go to your email to get that code and finish the process. Very much encourage you to do that now, because sometimes you might have to wait a day to get a new code if you don't do it now. So I'll give one more minute. Yeah, the code comes pretty quick. And just one other thing, it may go to your spam. That has happened on occasion, depending on your mail service. So be on the lookout for that because it does come pretty instantaneously. And I should have started this all off by saying it is a free platform. So hopefully that wasn't something that was stopping you from moving forward. All right. So I am going to get started just for the sake of wanting to really make sure that we get to dive into getting everyone's hands dirty in using skill blocks and building skill blocks. So as was mentioned, my name is Jeff Gumas, and today we're going to be focusing on how you can customize learning with the SkillBlox platform. So by the end of today's session, I am hopeful, I'm confident we will get to the point where you will be able to, or will have walked through the steps and can return to this video to review them, how to find resources in SkillBlox. So SkillBlox is a platform that has over 9,000 free and open education resources in it. We are going to be focusing specifically on certain reading resources in here because my hunch is many of you are volunteer tutors and you may be focusing on reading instruction with your learners. So we'll walk through how you can actually find relevant resources in SkillBlox based on the topics or skills that you want to be working with learners on, or the resources that you decide that you want to use. And then we're going to go through the process of actually building a skill block. So you just saw one. I started off by showing an example I built. Now, some of those resources were already available, and actually there are currently 62 exactly like what I shared with you that you can use as is or make copies of and adapt. I'm going to show you how to do that as well. But we're going to actually build blocks from scratch and then walk through how you can customize your blocks. So on what I showed a moment ago, you saw 3 links. One was to vocabulary practice, one was to the story, one was to the comprehension quiz. And then for each one of those, you saw there were directions to the learner for that. So that's part of the customization. Because SkillBlox is a platform that draws from various resources and for which you may wish to bring in your own resources, it's helpful to customize and provide instructions for learners, knowing that they might be jumping to different resources from different websites and needing to kind of orient them as to what they should be doing when they click on each of the links. Then we're going to focus on how you talk about how you can share your block. So you saw me actually grab the link to share with you in the chat. There's many different ways that you can share your blocks directly with learners. There's also different ways in terms of how open you can make your block. You could just have it for yourself and just share it with your learners, or you can make it public so that anyone can find your great creation and save it, or even make a copy of it if you set it so that others can make copies. Then we're going to look at how you can adapt someone else's block. So I encourage anyone who's actually creating skill blocks and doing it meaningfully to make their blocks open and publicly available and able to be copied, because what that allows somebody to do is save it and use it as is, or if they like it, but maybe they need to level it up or level it down, add their own resource or remove one that they don't want, they can do that and they don't have to start from scratch. Then we'll At the end, just look at creating a user profile. And this is really more about if you really are excited about this and want to start creating a bunch of skill blocks and housing them in one place so that others, either your learners or other tutors or teachers, can work with you, collaborate with you, find the things that you're creating. Having a user profile that's public allows you to do that. And then we'll actually look at a tool called Stacks, which is one of the sample things that I'll be sharing. Very quickly, I'm just going to recap what was covered last week in case you were not here. As I just said, SkillBlox is a platform of over 9,000 free and open education resources. And the way you use SkillBlox, the way I built what I showed you just a moment ago, is you search by skill or topic for free resources that are in there. So topically, if you want to do something like budgeting, you can look up budget or navigate to a skill called budget within the financial literacy framework and find all of the resources in SkillBlox that align to that particular topic. And then you can select from those learning activities that do align ones that you want to put into a block that I just shared. And then finally, once you have done that, those are all listed. You have the ability to rearrange them, to add those directions that I was talking about, to add your own resources, and then share it with learners or with other tutors. In terms of what is in, and I'm seeing there's a typo in here, it's not topical, it's topical. In terms of what is in SkillBlox, we have 5 main topic areas that are topics that are highly relevant to adult learners. SkillBlox is a platform that is for and has been designed for adult education. It's not a K-12 platform that we're adapting. It is, in fact, designed for adult learners. And so these 5 topic areas are how a lot of the content is organized within SkillBlox. We also do have mathematics in there. There's a number of great resources from Khan Academy and other websites that are organized by math standards. And in the coming month and a half, we are actually going to have reading standards in there. We do have reading content in there, but none of it's been necessarily aligned to any sort of reading standards. It's been actually aligned to topically to these topics. And so we're going to be adding reading and language standards so that people can search for and find resources as organized by those standards. Within what is in SkillBlox of those 9,000 resources, as I said, we have math, we have reading. We're going to be focusing on these 3 resources today. We also have great digital literacy content from high use resources in the area of digital literacy, some great civics education resources, financial literacy resources, health literacy resources, and workforce preparation resources. And again, these are for all different levels. They're in different formats. There's video content, there's simulations, there's readings, there's explainers, there's e-modules that are more click-through learning lessons. So it runs the gamut, and you can search by topic, find these things, filter by format, or filter by resource to get at the perfect resource for you, for your learners. So that's it. That's the recap. And now we're going to start building. So what we're going to do actually first is I'm going to share in the chat 3 different links. These are the 3 reading resources that we are going to play around with today. All of these have readings are in SkillBlox or linked in SkillBlox, but these are links directly to their websites. Now, one of the goals in creating a platform such as SkillBlox was we recognized that people weren't necessarily aware of some of the high quality and free content that is out there. And so while we want people to build skill blocks and share them, because a resource is on its own just a resource, but when teachers add their magic and add great activities that go with those readings, it becomes something really useful and really beneficial to all teachers and all learners. But if after today, you have been introduced to the Bow Valley College ESL literacy readers, and you go to that website right now and you realize this is the perfect website and I love everything on here and I'm going to use this forever with my students, then that's a win. That's part of the goal of SkillBlox, is introducing people to the great free resources that are available. So really quickly, I'm just going to ask you to click on any or all of the links that are in here. I will very quickly walk through each of these. But Bow Valley College, these are ESL, the program is called ESL Literacy Readers, and they have this set of readings that are at different levels that are available as audiobooks and as print PDFs, and again, are designed for adults. And so on this web page, it provides guidance in terms of the nature of each of the levels and what is in there. The PDF is great because you can print it out, which is nice if students don't have access to a device. But the audiobooks are really great because not only are they interactive and engaging and they have the audio, but they also actually have markup tools that allow you to mark up text on screen and do language activities with learners. But just walking through here, I can expand this so that it's in full view. And you know what? I think this is, yeah, here we go.
Mary goes to school on Monday. Mary buys tea.
So you can see the fluency and the speed with which these are read is appropriate. And the structure of each of the sentences is consistent so that it's helping learners build their decoding strategies, but also prosody and understanding like language structure at basic levels. So that's the ESL literacy readers. All of these are in SkillBlox, both the audiobooks and the print PDFs. The second resource on here is Reading Skills for Today's Adults. And this is a set of 345 readings. Now, I don't know why they have 16 levels. I've never quite understood that. But in terms of if we're looking at college and career readiness levels or even K-12 grade level equivalency, a majority of these stories are at pre-middle school level, if that makes sense. So up to like 5th, 6th grade. There's probably about 50 or 60 stories that are at low level, like low middle school level as well. And that's in terms of Lexile level. So the leveling of these is entirely based on readability scales. But if I go to any of these levels, I'm just going to indiscriminately go to one of these. You can see the various passages that are at this level, and I'm going to click on this one. And so you can see the structure of this. Sometimes these are stories, sometimes these are more informational text. But you'll notice there's a passage. You'll notice that there is a word count line here that's saying how many words at each line at a timer. So it is designed particularly to help learners build their fluency. And as part of that, there's recordings of every single story at different speeds so that learners hear basic decoding in the first reading and then hear how to put proper pausing at sentence breaks and commas in the second reading. And then the third reading is full prosody. It also has a number of great resources that are here. There's PDFs with pre-questions and post-questions, as well as the story. And then there is a story supplement. When you do that, it's a forced download, which gives you this Word document, and you could print this out with learners. Now, in SkillBlox, we actually have the supplements in SkillBlox, and then you basically don't have to download it. You can view it on screen and print it out. But you have the ability to adapt this, obviously, for your learners if you want. And then the skill block that I showed you earlier was actually based on using a Reading Skills for Today's Adult story. So from that supplement I just had up, and I shouldn't have closed it, we actually built that vocabulary activity using the vocabulary from the supplement, and we built the comprehension quiz for the assessment here using these assessment questions. So for all 345 stories, we have interactive versions of these two activities that are also in a hard copy form in the supplement. So that's the second resource. And I do see a question in here, and I see Bev's handling it, but I'll come back to that in a second. The change agent. So actually, Bev, I was thinking about this as I was putting this together. And does California have a subscription to the change agent?
We do. All CLLS programs have a subscription to the Change Agent, a statewide one, and I will put the link in the chat.
Awesome. Okay. So because Change Agent is a subscription magazine, we only have a selection of the passages that we are allowed to actually have in SkillBlox. And Change Agent is a world education magazine, and Proud at Learning is a world education initiative, but obviously there is a subscription model here. But we have over 100 of the Change Agent articles in SkillBlox that you can use. And people are, if you do have a subscription, you are allowed to add stories that you have access to into SkillBlox that you create and use with learners. So we'll walk through what that is. But the link that I put in here is just for some of the free resources that are available to anybody, even if you don't have a subscription, including these lesson packets. Now, one of the nice things that we're doing, since we are in the same organization, is we are starting to take the lesson packets and make those all SkillBlox, so that the stories, the slides that go with it, and any other activities that have been created are all ready to go as SkillBlox that you can then, again, add, remove, however you see fit. So these are the three readings that we're going to look at today, and I just wanted to familiarize you with them. Oh, sorry, I should actually open a Change Agent article. So let me go to, what's nice on this page is there's lesson packets for beginners, and then these free lesson packets. Let me open up a lesson on here, avoiding. All right, so here's the packet. And this packet is a PDF that has some activities in it, as well as stories from the change agent. So when you get to something like this that looks like a design page, these are the actual stories. These are student-written articles, which is nice, and they do a solicitation multiple times a year for each of the new issues. And so all of these student-written articles, well, again, they're student-written. Each issue is thematic. And so there's a handful of issues, again, for which all of the activities are in SkillBlox. We will look at the change agent as both an individual resource, but also there's a change agent profile page on SkillBlox so that you can see samples of these lesson packets that we are going to start building out so that they're more readily available to everyone. And so Bev has shared in the chat the link and the login for the change agent, again, to which California has a statewide subscription. So I'm showing this slide just so you can see this. One of the steps that we're going to take early on is there's three resources we just looked at: ESL literacy readers, reading skills for today's adults, and the change agent. What I'm going to have us do together is do a search in SkillBlox for that resource so that that can be our starting point for building a skill block using a resource that you're interested in using based on those three. So actually, I'm going to actually do a quick waterfall poll here. And what I'm going to ask you to do is, this is just for curiosity. Of the three readings resources that I just showed you, one, ESL literacy readers, two, reading skills for today's adults, three, the change agent. I'm going to ask you to think about which one do you think you might want to explore more and possibly, or maybe already do use with learners. And I'm going to have you hold on, type in the number of the one that you are either interested in learning more about or that you already use or want to use in the skill block you're going to build. And then I was going to say hold, but here, just go ahead and just just a type. We won't do a waterfall. So just go ahead. So change agent, reading skills for today's adults, change agent, reading skills for today's adults. Awesome. 1 and 2. So yes, illiteracy readers and change agent. Okay, so great. All right, so now we're going to dive into SkillBlox. And on this slide, which again, these slides will be shared with you in the follow-up from Bev, but I have linked all of the guides that we have for how to use SkillBlox. There's a main page here that has teacher guides and student guides. This is all being updated. It's going to be simplified, and actually we're adding videos for all of these things as well. But I just wanted to point out that we do have a user guide page so that you have links to all of these after the fact, as well as the recording of today's session. But I'm going to escape from here, and we are now going to hop into SkillBlox. And so hopefully you may already be there. And I'm going to delete a lot of these little tabs that I've opened up. I have a tendency to have way too many tabs open. So one of the things I didn't say at first is that, well, but I did show you when I shared that link with you at the start of the skill block that I had created. Students do not need, as you did not need, an account in order to access skill blocks or a skill block that you've created. So that's a really important point. So the skill block, that the link that I shared with you earlier, this is the code. If a learner has this code, that is all they need in order to open up the skill block. And I'm going to click on this, and you're going to see it's the exact same looking for a job skill block that we looked at earlier. The other thing to note is you can print out a skill block. And what's nice about that is if the learner is at a computer, then they have the ability to, they have the directions to go to SkillBlox and enter in the code. Or if they have a mobile device, there's a QR code that will launch this skill block on their phone, and then they can do all of the activities on their device. So again, no account needed for students to access this. And maybe you don't want to build a lesson, you just want to provide a set of stories on a particular topic. You can build that skill block, you could print it out, you could share the link, you could share the code, and then the student just has to access the skill block you've created. No need for accounts in order for them to use it. So that's an important piece that a lot of people really like about skill blocks, because I recognize that learners needing to have logins to all of these different platforms is a little challenging. This page is going through a major revamp because it's too complicated. So in about 3 weeks time, you're just going to see login, enter code, and that's it, like as options on the screen, no toggling to get to one or the other. But this is my username and password, and I'm going to sign in right now. So what you'll see when we get here is I have a bunch of skill blocks, but we're going to actually walk through all together, hopefully if you have an account, building your first skill block together. So to do that, you should basically see nothing here. And I don't remember, but it may say you have no skill blocks at this time down here. We are going to go to New Skill Blocks over here and click on it. And there's 2 ways that you can go about creating a skill block. By searching for activities that are in our library, or by starting with the blank skill blocks, which you can always add from the library, or you could start with, say, a resource that you know you want to start with, like a video or a reading that you have. You could use skill blocks and never actually use the resources that are in skill blocks. You could just build a skill block that has outside things that you're pulling together into one place. That's fine. But we're going to actually start by searching for activities in the skill blocks library. And now you're going to get to this screen that says create a skill blocks, and you're going to see there's 2 options for you to explore the skill blocks library. That's the first thing you have to do. And then from whatever your filters or searches are here, you're going to see learning activities that you can then select to add to your skill block. So the reason that I asked if for folks to pick a reading resource is there's multiple ways that you can search the library by keyword. One way is I mentioned budgeting might be something that you want to teach. So I might do a keyword search for budget and click enter. And then I'm going to see all of the activities that are in the SkillBlox library that deal with budgeting. Now you're actually going to see some logos that might be familiar. So based on this keyword search, I can see that there's a change agent article that has been tagged with the keyword budget, which I don't know if that's actually accurate or not. But you'll see there's a number of reading skills for today's adults. This is the reading skills for adults logo. So smart food shopping, better gas mileage, debt collection worries, good times bad on wallet, saving money on your phone bill. So there's a number of readings from reading skills for today's adults based on that keyword. So that's interesting. And then you'll see there's also a couple up here. I believe I saw at least one on from Bow Valley College. So spending too much money and food from home. I'm familiar with this story. This is a story where the woman is saving money by cooking food from home instead of going out to dinner. So there's a number of readings in here from the resources that we just looked at, but then there's also a number of things that are focused on the topic and teaching the topic of budgeting. So you'll see there's a number of activities here in English and in Spanish from Bank of America, Better Money Habits. You'll see there's a number of things here from the Goodwill Community Foundation, so GCF Global, formerly known as GCF Learn Free, that are in here. And then there's some vocabulary resources in here on budgeting from Learning Chocolate. And one of the sample skill blocks that I'll share with you actually has a Learning Chocolate activity in it, which is a English language learning platform of just vocabulary with a focus on vocabulary. So there's a number of great resources that I could find based on a keyword search on a topic that I'm interested. So that's one way we could do this. I'm gonna ask you to now do a keyword search, or if you're already flying and building a skill block, that's great. But I want you to think about the resource that you said you're interested in exploring more. So I want you to type that into the search bar. And the reason I'm going to have you do that is this way you can see all of the readings from that particular resource. So I'm going to go with the change agent. And now it is obviously, it's not case specific. So if you don't have the capitals in there, that's fine. But obviously spelling is important if you're doing a keyword search. For reading skills for today's adults, you could just do, I think if you just did reading skills for today, you should be fine. That is the exact word search. The rest of it is apostrophe S adults. Or if you wanted to do Bow Valley College, you could do ESL literacy readers. Maybe I'll do the Bow Valley College ones. So I'm going to click on search. And now I'm going to see all of the readers that are in here. So this is the long list. And as mentioned, there's ebook versions of everything as well as PDFs. And so what you'll see on each of these is it indicates that with this little chip. So you're going to know what format that particular resource is. If you go to the information button over here, we'll go to the PDF one. You'll see that there's additional information about the actual resource, including what skills, what academic skills it obviously focuses on, but more importantly, I'm looking at these skill alignments here. And so these have all been, in most cases, aligned to these topical frameworks that you see on the left-hand side. So this particular story focuses on providing personal information to healthcare providers. It also touches upon discussing health topics or symptoms with your doctor. So it aligns to important health literacy skills. And we will look at how to navigate by those frameworks in a second. If I click on the resource itself, it will launch me, and this is a fix that we need to do. I think I did it in the last webinar. It will actually launch the resource. It should be launching another tab. It is not doing that right now, so I need to fix that. But this will show you what the PDF looks like. Now, the PDF isn't really designed for someone to share with learners. It's actually something meant for you to print out two-sided so that you can actually have a physical ebook. So maybe I don't want to use the PDF with learners. Hopefully this brings me back to where I was. It did not. So sorry, ESL literacy readers. So I'm going to go with the ebook version. Maria gets sick. Now, if I click on this link, it's going to launch another tab. And so you'll see the familiar thing that we showed earlier. This is that interactive book that you can work with learners on. So if I want to add this to my SkillBlox, I simply click on the checkbox, and now it is added. I get a confirmation. And then I'll see up top that there is this cart, if you will, that shows my current activity selections. So, okay, I've done this ESL literacy readers search, and I've got this activity. But maybe I'm like, I want to find all of the readers that deal with health. The way that I could do that is on the subject area frameworks over here. I can click on this, and I can filter by health literacy. And now I'm going to see all of the readings from Bow Valley College ESL literacy readers that deal with health literacy topics and that are aligned to the different health literacy topics. So you can see here, it's a subset of the, I think it was 70 something that were in there. So a number of their stories actually do deal with health topics. But maybe I don't want that. Maybe I want financial literacy. I could do that as well. And then I'm going to see there's a few less. As we had seen earlier, there were some ones that aligned to budgeting, and so on and so forth. I could search by workforce if learners want to learn about careers or have examples and stories that deal with folks looking for jobs. Or at work. These are different stories from this particular resource that deal with that. But maybe, okay, I've got the story Maria gets sick. Maybe I just want to see in the library what else in here deals with just being sick. So we have three Bow Valley College stories that deal with getting sick. It is Canadian, so maybe they get more colds up there. I don't know. But there's nothing else from that particular keyword. Oh, sorry, I still have this is learning for you. I'm still filtering by ESL literacy readers. So let me get rid of that. And now we'll see if there's any other resources. Here we go. So here are other resources that are dealing with being sick. So this is a story from Change Agent that's called No Sick Days. There is vocabulary practice on calling in sick. We've got some other things from reading skills for today's adults. And then I see something for learning chocolate. This is feeling sick, body and health. So I'm going to actually open that and see what that's about. And here is that learning chocolate resource that I was talking to you about earlier. And so this is a language learning platform. What's really nice about this resource is, mind you, I have ad blockers, so there tend to be lots of ads on the left and right. I have those turned off, but I can expand this. And I see learners here in Chicago do this all the time while they're waiting or just in free time. It fills the screen, and then this allows for practice, where they hear all of the words and can see them, and then there's a sequence of activities. So this is just listening, and then dragging, and checking their answers. We can do that. Then the next matchup is actually no sound. Now it's reading and connecting to the different pictures. So again, it's dragging. So who's sneezing here? I think you're sneezing. And then again, obviously I can check my answers. Then there's another matchup that's no words, just sounds and images. So this is fully listening. Then there's a fill-in. This one does require actually having the know all the words that you're walking through. So that one's a little more challenging unless they have a word list. And then this is dictation. So for each one of these, I don't know if that's two words or one. So I'm going to go up here, fever. This is typing practice and listening practice on spelling on each of the words. So I like this activity. I'm going to add this as well because this obviously relates to being able to describe and use words when you're feeling sick. So I'm just going to do those two activities. I've got a reading on Maria Gets Sick, and then I've got this language learning book activity here. So I'm going to click save, and I see that I have these two here. So I will click save. And now I have my skill block. So I'm going to give it a title. That's the first thing that I would do to customize it. So feeling sick. What you'll see here now is a number of things. You will see the two activities. You will see that I have the ability to add a summary for instructors. So this is something that we encourage folks to do if they are intending to publish their skill blocks and share it with others. It might be a description of how you use the skill blocks or the setting that you use it with, so that when another instructor finds this, they have a sense of how you may use it. There's also a student-facing summary. I am going to say, read the story, practice studying. And so this is a overall summary of the skill block. And then these are the two activities in here. For each one of the activities, I also have the ability to add a student note, add an instructor note as well. I'm going to add instructor note for this one. Okay, read the story with learners. Highlight as you read that the so again, I don't necessarily remember the story, but I think it's she feels this, she feels this, she feels this, and so it's this structured lesson. So this is guidance to the instructor. Now I have the student-facing summary. I have this instructor note. Well, that could be confusing to a student, but that's okay. I'm in an instructor view right now. Now, if you're logged in, you would see all of these because you were an instructor. But if I click on student view, what you see is only the things that the students would see. So the students would see the summary, the students would see the title, the students would see the two activities, but they're not going to see anything else. I'm going to go back to instructor view. Now, maybe I want to add that PDF because I do want to print that out for my learners. I can go back to select learning activities, and that's going to bring me back into the SkillBlox library. And I know the title of the story, so I'm going to type in Maria Gets Sick. And I've got the ebook in there already. I'm going to add the PDF version. I'm going to save it. Now it's at the bottom of my screen, and as we just looked at, it's not necessarily something that I want to share with students because it's really meant to print out in two-sided and then actually assemble into a book. So I want to add it so that I have it in this skill block that I've created, but I can click on this icon and I can hide it from students. So now I have the reading that students can see, the vocabulary that students can see, and then for my own reference, the print out, that if I want to print this out, I can do so. But the student is not going to see that. So maybe I include that and I provide also an instructor note. This PDF allows you to print out the story, a hard copy book. So yeah, now I've got the story in two formats. I've got the interactive vocabulary. I would probably add instructions on the vocabulary set on how to use it. Again, like part of our goal is to introduce teachers and students to resources that they like and want to continue using. So you probably want to provide those instructions, and hopefully if you continue using Learning Chocolate and finding associated, say, word sets that might go with or be related to a story you use, students get used to that. They know that when they go here, they launch the activity, they click on this, and then they have their full screen view. So part of our selection of resources in SkillBlox is finding things that have a number of activities that can be used, so that you can be using the same resources and creating consistency in the things that you design for learners, so that you can build a whole set of things that you can use over and over again with different students. And as they get used to the different resources that are being used, they need less and less scaffolding on how to launch the activity and how to use the activity. So now I have these 3 activities, and this is something that I want to share with my learners. Actually, before I do that, are there any questions? And feel free to unmute yourself or to type in the chat. You couldn't name. It says read only. Did you create this skill block, or are you looking at another skill block that you did not create? That's interesting. Now, for these that I've pulled, okay, so if you've pulled an activity from the library, I don't have the ability to rename this. So you can't, or did you pull an outside change agent article? It might help if you're unmute, Diane.
There you
Sorry.
go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not these things I can't rename. It's the overall skill blocks I can't rename. It's got a number, but it won't let me name it. And it says this is a read-only instructor view of this blocks.
So but you created it?
I just went through and I did your searches like you were saying, and one of them I searched for the change agent and ended up with 20 little activities. And the other time I just searched on health and put in 2 just to see if I could experiment with it, but it won't let me give it a SkillBlox name. It's just activity 2, access code is in there, the date, my name.
Okay. And like, so when you go back so I'm going to save and exit. So when you're in this view,
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I can't.
You are the owner.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you share the code in the chat?
Can I share what?
The code to your skill block in the chat.
There's 2 of them. Yeah.
Well, this is fun. This I've never actually encountered. Okay, cool. So I just want to see.
And this is the second one.
Okay. So I'm going to enter that code that Diane just shared. So you did just create these. So these are from Reading Skills for Today's Adults. It's not allowing you to. I mean, okay, yeah. I just wanted to see that these in fact are ones that you created. So I would recommend. Well, let me show you a couple things. All right, let me go back to mine. I might log in and log out and then log back in.
Okay.
But that's really, really fascinating. So let me just real quickly go to our share setting or to back to the skill block that I created. So yeah, it definitely shouldn't say read only because you created it. And I'm wondering, actually, so I'm going to show you something now and maybe see if you can do that with your skill block as well. So if I want to share this with learners, there's multiple ways I can do this. I could, again, do a printout of it. And then once I've printed it out, I can just share this hard copy with learners. They can go to skillblocks.org, enter that, or scan this, and then they can access it. I can click on the share icon, and this is where I also adjust my share settings. So right now, this is private. Now, if I share this code with you, which I will do in the chat, you have the ability to access it. So even though it's private, anyone that has this link or has this code can access it. So if you don't want others seeing it, then you share it. But if you make it public, what that does is it actually puts it into our Explore Skill Blocks area, which we'll look at in a second. And that means that anyone can find this and view it. And they also have the ability to save it. They can save it as is. And they can't do anything else with it other than look at what I've created and share that with their learners as well. If I want them to be able to make a copy of it, I click on this toggle switch down here. And then once I've done this, other users, when they encounter this skill blocks, they can not only view it and save it, but they could also make a copy of it. And then when they make a copy of it, it is theirs, and they have the ability to remove activities, add activities. It's not going to impact mine at all. Then you're going to see that I'm asked to go through a series of tags. I'm not going to really walk through this because this is actually something that's being heavily revamped in the next few weeks. But essentially, the goal here is for you as the teacher, if you are making it public, to provide as many details as possible in terms of how you use this with your learners. This is focused on reading. The learner level is intermediate and beginning SOL. The skills that matter is its own little thing. And these are actually two topics that I am interested in having learners build. So I'm leaving these selected. And so now I've tagged the skill block. And what that means now is when people go to this Explore Skill Block section, which I'll show in a second, they can find it and they can see those details that I provided. Now, Diane, for you, I am going to say, maybe click on, if you can, and have the ability to, this copy icon. I love that we have like power users. I wish I could see. Oh my gosh. Downloads. Thank you for sharing the link that you just shared. I'm trying to open it.
She
Downloads.
notes that she doesn't have one of the icons that you have on your screen.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to see. So yeah, so since this is read-only and shouldn't be, you don't have the tagging icon because you can't tag it because it's technically not yours because it's read-only, even though it shouldn't be read-only. So yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping there's others on this call that have created skill blocks and they are able to name it and they're seeing it as theirs and not read-only. But I'm going to power through and apologize for the challenges, and hopefully I will definitely pass this on. I will try to recreate it in a different account. But for the sake of time, I do want to just show a couple other tips and tricks. So one other thing, now that I've created this and I've tagged this and I've got it, the things that I want students to see available, the ways I can share this with students is I could print it out. I can copy this link and share it with students. I could share this code with students, as you've seen me do, and then they can just enter this code on the SkillBlox login page. If you are working with students who have Facebook, you could actually share it with them on Facebook. You could actually assign it in Google Classroom as well, if that's something you use, or Remind. We are planning on adding WhatsApp as well, so that you can directly share it through a WhatsApp chat with students. So I've created this, and now if you were to go to explore SkillBlox, you're going to see that this is a skill block that is listed. There's actually a couple of things here that are listed about being sick. I don't know why I'm fixated on being sick, because I'm not sick right now, and I hope I don't. Maybe I need to get my flu shot to ward that off. But what you'll see is, because these are tagged, unlike, say, in this case, this person, I'm not calling them out, but they haven't tagged it, so I don't know what subjects this relates to or learner levels, and maybe it's not. Maybe it just doesn't align to that. And actually, I know that this person is creating a bunch of skill blocks that just have information about their program for their learners. But if I click on any of these, I can see those details that were provided. And it just gives somebody a little bit more of an understanding of the levels that it's appropriate for and how it's being used. And then in Explore Skill Blocks, I then have the ability to search in a similar way for skill blocks that relate to skills that are of interest or that use resources of interest. So say you don't want to build skill blocks, but say you want to see what skill blocks others have created using, I'm just going to go with ESL literacy readers again. That gets listed here. I click select. And then I have to click apply filter. But once I do that, I can see other skill blocks that others have created that use the ESL literacy resource. So I'll click on this one to see what they've created. And this is called Back Safety at Work. So you'll see that they used a story from ESL literacy readers. They also found a story from Reading Skills for Today's Adults that deals with lifting at work. And then they found a resource that's actually external resource that is focused on back safety. So they created this specifically for back safety at work. All right. Sorry, I didn't build in time for there to be a derailment of this not working for people. I'm so sorry. But we've walked through all of these things now, and I just want to kind of close out. In the slides that you look at, there are sample blocks that I've not created all of these. Some of them I've created, some others have created, that pull from each of the reading programs that we looked at. And again, in Explore Skill Blocks, if you go to Select Resources and enter the name, you can see already created blocks that have been created by others that you could go ahead and use. One other thing that I will share with you is that for the Reading Skills for Today's Adults program, which was one that many of you mentioned having interest in and using, if I was to type that in here, and actually if I just scroll down, well, no, I can type in resource. So select resource. I'm going to say Reading Skills for Today's Adults. And this is actually also getting a makeover. I click on apply filter. You're going to see there's 72 skill blocks right now that did Reading Skills for Today's Adults stories. A number of them are actually organized in something called Stack. So I'm going to actually go and share this link, which is on the next slide. But one of the things that you have the ability to do in SkillBlox is you've created a public profile. You can create a web page like this called the Stack. And you can pull all of the stories that you want or skill blocks you've created into one place. So I'm going to share this link with you. And again, it's linked in our slides as well. But we are taking every single story from Reading Skills for Today's Adults and putting them into level A, B, C, and D, which is like K1, 2 through 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8. In terms of grade level equivalencies. And this level A, which is K and 1 reading levels, grade level equivalencies, has 62 stories. All of these skill blocks are created in such a way that they include everything that I showed you earlier. So they have that vocabulary study set, that they have instructor notes, They have the story, and then they have that comprehension quiz. There's also a template of the comprehension quiz so that you could make a copy of it and use your own version of the quiz with your learners. And then they also have that worksheet that I showed you that goes with the story. And these worksheets are great because they have a language activity, they have a speaking activity, they have a writing activity, they have a couple vocabulary activities that go with it. So it's a really extensive practice in different language skills using the reading as the basis. So for all of the reading skills for today's adults stories, these are available. And if you're logged in right now, I'm going to share this link with you. And this is just one of the stories because this is the last thing I want to show you. So if you open up the story, you can see I don't own this. This is another user that created it. But I have the ability to save it. So this will save it to my block. Or I have the ability to make a copy of it. That's what these two icons mean. And I'm just going to make a copy of it really quickly. So now you'll see the name of this is Violence at Home. Sorry, I picked a grim one. I did not mean to do that. And you see it's a copy, but I own this now. So this is no longer read only. So if I don't want I don't care about the Quizlet, I have the ability to just remove that activity. And then I could renumber these if I want. If I want to use my own quiz, I can open up this and choose this template. And then this becomes my Google form once it opens up. And then I could add this link to the SkillBlock and share this with learners. So I could go to my link. Now I'm showing you Google Forms ins and outs, but I can add a new activity for the sake of time, because I know we're over. And oops, I didn't actually grab the link. Here's my version. Copy, and paste that. And I could add more detail, but you'll see that's at the bottom. I could move that up. And so now my SkillBlox is different, and I could hide or delete the one that I don't want to use, sorry. And so now I've just got the story in my version of the quiz, and students will see that. Again, I might add instructions and layers for guidance for students, but I can take any one of those and switch out whatever I want. Maybe this is a reading that I want to share, and maybe there's information about like domestic violence or whatever topic that's available for community resources that could help somebody. I could add that as well, just like I showed you adding that form. But those are all things that I could do to customize something that's already created that uses that reading as a basis. And so I just wanted to show that. And so those are coming. And we are over time, and so I don't want to take more people's time, but if you do want to stick around and share and talk more, I can stay. I think I'm one of the hosts. If we want to stop the recording and just have an open Q&A, I'm happy to stick around. But I'm just going to advance to the last slide here and share that for any updates on SkillBlox or Crowded Learning, which is the organization or the initiative from World Ed that focuses on open education resources, you are welcome to follow us. You can email me at this email address with any questions. I am going to follow up on this being able to name a skill block and not being able to edit a skill block that you've created, because that's a concerning little discovery that we had together. I'm sorry. But I'm gonna wrap it there. But if people do want to stick around and ask questions, I am completely available for the next half hour or so. So